Hello everyone, welcome to At America TV. My name is James, one of the e-guides here at America, and we welcome our audience members joining us online. We hope that you're doing well and staying safe. At America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. In this episode, we'll be having the Atlas Corps in collaboration with At America, Indonesian Emerging Leaders Initiative Info Session. Don't forget to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. Now, without further ado, let me introduce everyone to our moderator for today, Isabella Veronica Silalahi, a current Atlas Corps Fellow. Isabella, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. My name is Isabella Veronica Silalahi. I am the current Atlas Corps Fellow serving at the American Express Foundation, and I'm originally from Indonesia. And welcome. Welcome to the Atlas Corps in collaboration with At America, Indonesian Public Sector Leadership Initiative. We are excited for everyone to learn more about this initiative and what we have in store today. I am joined by amazing speakers, individuals, scholars, and I'm excited to learn from them as you guys are all too. So we have an amazing lineup today, and I am right now joined by amazing people. So before we get started, we would like to introduce some of our opening remarks that will be given by, firstly, Miss Rachel Cook. She is the Counselor for Public Diplomacy at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. Miss Rachel Cook, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Isabella, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us. The U.S. Embassy is really pleased to announce the launch of an initiative called Atlas Corps in collaboration with At America, Indonesia Public Sector Leadership. It's in celebration of At America's 10th anniversary. But first, please allow me to thank our special guests. We have with us today, Ambassador Dr. Dino Patijalal, founder of the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, and of course, Indonesia's ambassador to the United States from 2010 to 2013. And many of you may fondly remember our guest, Ambassador Robert Blake, who was our US ambassador to Indonesia from 2014 to 2016, and is the US co-chair of the United States Indonesia Society. We're also very grateful to Ms. Ivana Augustin, country representative from USINDO, for her participation today. Now, I offer a warm welcome to Abby Robinson and Meredith Newmark, who are respectively the acting CEO and the senior program director for Atlas Corps, and they'll be describing the program in detail and able to answer all of your questions about how to apply. We're also fortunate to have 4 fantastic Indonesians who have participated in similar programs joining us this evening. They'll be able to tell us what it's like to be a scholar or a fellow. Now, the Atlas Corps, in collaboration with At America, Indonesia Public Sector Leadership Initiative, is both a mouthful to say and a very special program to engage Indonesia's brightest public sector professionals in a global leadership development opportunity. We are recruiting young professionals in government, politics, education, nonprofits, and other fields for programs that will be both online and in the United States. This is a collaboration between the United States Embassy's Cultural Center, At America, and the Washington, D.C. based leadership development organization, Atlas Corps. The online 4-month program will include keynote speakers, interactive workshops, self-led activities, discussion groups, and community building activities with top US organizations and leaders. High-achieving participants in this 4-month program may be selected then to go and do a fellowship in the United States with an American organization matched to the participants' interests, skills, and abilities. So why is At America celebrating its 10th anniversary with a leadership program? Because the world needs strong leaders now more than ever. And we are honored to have the opportunity to help develop the next generation of Indonesia's leaders. I know that there are many Indonesians who want to step up and who are stepping up and helping their communities, like you. And I encourage you to apply today for the Atlas Corps in collaboration with At America Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miss Rachel Cook. And thank you so much for the warm opening regards and the remarks. And we hope for the best for your duty as well as the Counselor for Public Diplomacy at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. And we look forward to working with you. Before we move on to our next opening remarks, we would like to remind for all of our participants here to not hesitate to use the chat box or ask your questions, to introduce yourself and ask questions to our amazing line of speakers. Our team will gather your questions and the selected questions will be answered during the question and answer sessions. Sounds good? Okay, now let's move on to our next opening remarks. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Dr. Dino Patijalal, who is the founder and chairman for the Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia, FPCI. Dr. Dino Patijalal, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rachel, Bob Blake, my good friend, and everybody at Atlas Corp and At America for inviting me. And also thank you to Atlas Corp for agreeing for my $100,000 speaker fee to speak for 4 minutes today. I really appreciate that. Look, I think I got about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just going to tell you about a personal story, something quite extraordinary that happened to me in the last 2 weeks. But it began in September. I actually had COVID, and I had a bad case of COVID. It was actually a near-death experience for me. And as I thought my life was just going away. I just started thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that, and I didn't give, I didn't give my best to the things that I cared about, right? And thank God I survived COVID, and I had I felt like God gave me a second chance to make my life better, right? And I really mean this very, very honestly. And I have a different outlook on life after September, more fearless and more choosy about what things are important for me to pay attention to, right? And at some point in January, I got really angry because my mom called me and said her houses had been robbed by land mafias. Indonesians who followed the news in the last 2 weeks would know this, right? So just these mafioso guys who just took away 5 of her homes, and she's 84 years old, and I got really angry that they picked on my mother, right? So I did a tweet protesting this. And obviously I went to the police and I went to the media and so on. And before I knew it, thousands of people had come up and said, "Hey, it happened to us too, but we lost, and the land mafias are just too strong. And thank you for raising this issue." And the media just caught on every day about this issue, right? And the cabinet apparently had a discussion on this. The Minister for Land invited me to discuss this. And today or 2 days ago, the president made a statement on this, and the police chief also saying that no backup of the land mafia should be spared. We're going to fight anybody, no matter how high they are, if they are involved in the land grabbing, right? So without me realizing this, in just 2 weeks, with a tweet, the whole dynamics have changed in terms of people fighting against the land mafias, right? And I guess, probably this is not something I would have done before, right? But as I told you, I have a fearless attitude on life now. You only live once, and I'm 55. I don't know how long I'm going to live. While you have your breath, fight for what you think is right, right? So that's my 2021 COVID 19 outlook on life, and I think it's something worthwhile for you to consider, which is, if you want to be leaders in your society, you really have to have a strong sense of purpose. You have to have a fearless, but also reasonable fearlessness. Not recklessness. Yeah, and you gotta know how to advance your agenda. In a good way, in a positive way. But also, I think what is most important is don't be afraid to go against the mainstream, to think differently, right? Most leaders that emerge are those who have the courage and capability to think ahead of their time and ahead of everybody else. You remember, we live in a democracy now, but I did not believe in democracy when I was younger, right? Because I was, brainwashed by the government to do so, and my job was to believe that we were not ready for democracy, and democracy was not good yet for Indonesia, right? This is, in the 80s and 90s when I worked for the government. But overnight, Indonesia became a democracy, and overnight, I had to learn, to be a Democrat. And you know what? Now I can't imagine Indonesia not being a democracy, right? That would be like Indonesia losing oxygen, right? My point is there was a complete change of thinking from me being a non-democrat to someone who thinks democracy is like our oxygen, right? And that ability to think differently and to think in accordance with our times and in line with our needs, and to be forward-looking is what leaders do. Yeah? So be a path breaker, be a risk taker, be a game changer. And as there's more of you, Indonesia and the world will be a much better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dino, for that really inspiring remarks. To always live fearlessly and not be afraid to think differently. I hope that everyone hear that and is inspired by your remarks. But most of all, I think we are very grateful to hear that you are doing better and you have regained your health, survived COVID-19, and could be an empowering figure for all of us. We hope that you continue to stay healthy in all of your endeavors. Alas, I would like to invite our last but not least opening remarks, Miss Ivana Agustin, who is the country representative for the United States Indonesia Society, USINDO. Miss Ivana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bella. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Atlas Core and at America for having me here. It is indeed a pleasure for me can be here alongside with other speakers. Allow me to introduce myself before we begin. I'm Ivana. As Bella mentioned, I'm the Jakarta representative of USINDO. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Rachel Cook from the U.S. Embassy and also Ambassador Boblek, who happens to be USINDO co-chairman, and of course Padino, who is happened to be our senior advisor as well. Today, I'd like to share with you just a snippet of USINDO's work in deepening the U.S.-Indonesia relations and mutual understanding, and how it relates actually with the Atlas Core mission to some extent. USINDO is a binational organization founded in 1994 by Indonesian and Americans who felt there is a need for special effort to improve the relationship between the two countries and its peoples. So over more than 25 years, we have done programs with leaders in government, NGOs, private sectors, and the general public. Among many programs that we have done, we put special attention to programs that involve education and youth, especially young leaders, as we believe that the future relies on the young generation. Yusindo Core Educational Initiative brings young Americans interested in Indonesia for 3 months language and cultural immersion. Many of our alumni have returned to Indonesia in a professional or personal capacity or gone to a careers involving Indonesia. And I believe the initiative of Atlas Core and at America that engage young Indonesian public sector leaders will bring the same benefits, if not even more, to all of you who are joining the program this year. I trust that the 7 month fellowship will be rewarding, full of learning, and most importantly, it must be enjoyable. It will also be a great opportunity for the fellows to establish a new network and friendship and deepen the existing one. I wish all application all the best in moving forward and be reminded to give back to your community what you have learned from the program, as this is how you can make a difference in the life of others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ba Ivana, for that great opening remarks to always give back to others. I think that's what we all need to understand. And again, thank you very much and good luck to all of your endeavors. Now, as we approach our main program, I am truly humbled to be able to introduce one of our main speakers gathered here already today. No, he doesn't need any introduction, I think, because a lot of you guys probably already know him. But I would like to introduce our next speaker, Ambassador Robert Blake, who served for 31 years in the State Department and has a wide range of leadership positions. This is currently not his first time speaking at the Ad America platform, but we are excited for him to join and to share a little bit of insights for all of us here. And Ambassador Blake is also currently the chairman of the board of the U.S.-Indonesia Society and also a member of the board of the Asia Foundation and the Bhutan Foundation. We'll be having a conversation with Ambassador Blake. And if you guys have any questions that you would like to reach out for our panelists, again, I would like to remind to use your chat box in whichever platforms that you are using, and our team will be moderating the questions and hopefully answer yours as well. So without further ado, I think we all can't wait to hear from the man himself. Let me introduce to everyone Ambassador Bob Blake.
Well, thank you so much, Isabella. And let me first say a warm word of welcome to my good friend, Dino Jalal, with whom I've worked so much. And I'm always delighted to go and speak to FPCI, which Dino has done such a great job of building up into one of the most impactful and consequential organizations in Indonesia that has really done so much to, I think, influence the thinking of young Indonesians. So we're really privileged to have Dino with us today. Also, a warm greetings to all of our friends at Ad America. As was noted, I was just a huge fan of Ad America when I was ambassador, and I participated in events, I would say almost every week, sometimes twice a week, because I just loved the opportunity to talk to young Indonesians, to hear what they had to say, and just soak in a lot of their enthusiasm, which is so important to building relations between our two great democracies. And, you know, I think Ad America is a unique place because Indonesia is a democracy, as Padino said, and it's an open country. So it's really one of the few countries in the region where we can have an institution like this, where we can talk freely about almost any issue that we want. And also importantly, we let audience interests really drive our programming. And we paid particular attention to bringing in young Indonesians because really they're the dynamic future of this dynamic country, Indonesia, and this great partner for the United States, Indonesia. So Bella, I don't know if you want me to talk or you wanted to do this in an interview format, or as I'm happy to do whatever you say.
I think we can do a fireside chat.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yes. So again, if anyone have any questions for Ambassador Robert Blake, then feel free to put it in whichever platform chat box that you have. But maybe we can start with the questions. And I have a question for you, Ambassador Blake, is what is the value of international exchange and leadership development programs like Atlas Corps and At America in your opinion?
Well, I just can't stress how important these exchange programs are and these leadership development programs are. You've heard President Biden and his whole new team talk a lot about how they value diversity. And you should ask yourself, why is that? It's because people from diverse backgrounds bring completely different ways of thinking and devising creative solutions to the challenges that we all face. So diversity really fosters innovation, it fosters inclusiveness, and most importantly, mutual understanding. And I think a lot of those are the reasons why exchanges are so important. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One of my favorite programs that we had in Indonesia was the Youth Exchange Scholarship, where we had a competition all across Indonesia to pick, at the time, 80 students who were just about to enter their junior year of high school. And they would then spend a year living in a small community all over the United States, going to a local high school and living with a host family. And I would always host a reception for all of these young Indonesians before they left to go to the United States and after they came back. And the difference between when they left and when they came back was absolutely incredible. Most of them were very, very shy to begin with. They were a little bit hesitant about their English language skills. They didn't really want to talk very much. And when they came back, they were just bursting with enthusiasm for the experience that they had had. They could hardly wait to go back to the United States and pursue their studies. And I think the reason for that was that they developed this grassroots appreciation of the United States, our people, and our values. But just as importantly, they were also ambassadors for Indonesia in these small communities all over America where, frankly, many people had never even heard of Indonesia. So when they came back, their whole perspective was transformed. And again, they were excited about foreign affairs, but they were also excited because they had a greater understanding of how they could make a difference in the world. And I think that all of those of you who are fortunate enough to become Atlas Corps Fellows, and I really encourage everybody to apply, you'll be learning new skills from a wide range of people that you will meet and from other fellows who are coming from other countries. And I think this too will be very, very transformative because it'll give you a whole set of new ideas that you can take back to your own work. And you will take back not just the experience, but also a whole new range of contacts with people who will be part of your global network, whom you can and really should keep in touch with. And again, I think you can have such an important role in America as well, because you will bring your own perspective about what you've learned in Indonesia to the American setting. So we have as much to learn from you as you have to learn from what you learn in the United States. So don't be hesitant to share your ideas and to just get as much out of this opportunity as possible.
That's amazing. It's very important to the grassroots level as well. And I think that as a young person myself, I think I can speak on behalf that is the future. That is the future of the young people of Indonesia and hopefully globally as well. Another question that I have is, what do you think are the tools and also the skills needed for young people nowadays to emerge as future leaders, not only globally but also in their community?
Well, I think when you go to a place like America, the most important thing is to absorb everything you can, take advantage of every opportunity. If somebody invites you to go and visit a community somewhere else, definitely accept all of those. When I was a diplomat growing up, I'll tell you one story. When I was the deputy chief of mission in India once, I had never been to India before, and suddenly I was the deputy ambassador there. And so I made a decision that I would accept every single invitation that I received. And I'll tell you, it's a funny story. My staff, of course, oftentimes would say, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that. You're too important. You're too senior. You shouldn't be dealing with this or that person." And I didn't listen to them. I felt like every opportunity was an opportunity to learn, to meet new people, to hear from them, and most importantly, to listen. We Americans, we're pretty good at lecturing other people. We're not so good at listening. I really felt like listening was an important skill to develop. And I for that reason, I just developed this huge network of contacts and people, and many of those people I still keep in touch with on a very, very regular basis, and they went on to do great things. So be a good listener, but also never stop learning. I mean, I think Dino made this point as well. Even now at my advanced age, I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly learning about new things and how we can, for example, do better work at USINDO, how I do a lot of work on environmental things because that's one of my passions. So I'm constantly reading and developing new skills and new knowledge and then applying that to whatever the situation is. So just stay as open as you can, learn as much as you can, and never stop learning.
Perfect. That's amazing. And I think never stop learning, but also be a great listener because we're all a work in progress. So that's really, really great. So actually, I have a question because we already have a question right now
Sure.
from our audience. So we have a question from Tarantula, who has a question for Ambassador Blake. So Ambassador Blake, what do you think is the most important shared experience that Indonesia and America have that can bridge both countries diplomatically?
Well, I think that's a great question. And obviously, first and foremost, we're democracies, and that may sound trite, but in this day and age where the world is facing a real decline in global governance, having two great democracies like Indonesia and the United States working together is just so important. And the example that a country like Indonesia can play, again, it's just so important. For example, right now, everybody is very, very concerned about the situation in Myanmar. Now, of course, everybody expects the United States to react and to enact sanctions as we have. But in many ways, the people who can have the most influence with the generals in Myanmar are not the United States, but probably fellow ASEAN members. And Indonesia, as a leader of ASEAN, as the host of the ASEAN Secretariat, has an immense opportunity to work quietly, which is often the most successful way to get things done in diplomacy, to quietly work with the leaders of Myanmar to persuade them to return to democracy. And Indonesia's own experience is very, very telling because you yourself went through this important transition in 1998 and developed into this vigorous democracy that you now have. And the positive results of that are there for everybody to see in terms of the growth that you've experienced, in terms of the strong democracy that you have now, in terms of the reduced role of the military. All of those things are just great examples for countries like Myanmar and can reassure them. And I think are going to be a little bit more relevant to the leaders of Myanmar than, let's say, anything that we in the United States might say. So that's just one example of the many ways that the United States and Indonesia can work together. And I think in the coming 4 years with Joe Biden, you're going to see a much greater engagement by the Biden administration with Indonesia on a huge range of issues, things like climate change, of course, how we can improve trade and investment, how we can work on a lot of the big environmental issues that all of us are concerned about. So, and we don't do that with every country. We do that with the countries with whom we share common values and interests. And I think Indonesia is near the top of that list.
That is a very concise answer, and I hope that answered your questions. And we have a lot of questions as well coming for your way, Ambassador Blake, and really great one actually. The next one is from Dina Hinitawati, and Dina asks, "Are there any changes in bilateral relationship dynamics between Indonesia and the U.S. under the Biden leadership, including youth programs like such Atlas Corps?"
It's a little bit early for me to say because the Biden administration is really just taking shape now. We've only had our cabinet level people approved by the Senate so far, so they haven't yet really had a chance to develop the details of how we're going to work together. But I think you can be safely assume that the Biden administration is going to look for every opportunity to work more closely with Indonesia. And I will say, I think that, as I said earlier, I think these exchange programs are among the most impactful programs that we have anywhere, because the purpose of these programs is to change people's minds and attitudes and to have them better understand the United States, and likewise to have more Americans come to Indonesia so they can better understand Indonesia. And the longer that you can spend in a country like that, and really get a deep knowledge, the better you're going to improve mutual understanding between our two countries. So I think almost for sure that the Biden administration is going to be strongly supportive of these kinds of exchange programs, and more broadly, strongly supportive of expanding our ties. I know our foreign minister, our Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, just had a very good conversation with Foreign Minister Marsudi, and they agreed to do just that.
That's amazing. And we definitely look forward to seeing the developments and the progress. And we have a optimistic...
Bella, can I just make one point that I'd like to make sure we get across before, since we have so many public sector people here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of public service, because this is something that is really near and dear to my heart. I joined our diplomatic service, served for 31 years. And I thought I'd just take 1 or 2 minutes. Why did I do that? I mean, first of all, I wanted to serve my country as my father had done before me. But second, I love the fact that every single day of my life, while I was a Foreign Service officer, I could say that I was able to help someone. And, that's a really unique thing to be able to say, whatever job you're in. And, American Foreign Service officers do that in so many ways. Maybe they're helping a business to get a contract to resolve a business dispute. Maybe they're a political officer who is helping journalists or environmental activists who might have been threatened or unjustly accused. Maybe they're helping an American citizen who was caught in a natural disaster and lost absolutely everything and needs help to get home back to the United States. Maybe it's persuading a government to encourage more renewable energy policies to help stop climate change. But I derive great personal and professional satisfaction from those experiences of helping others, but also helping to advance the interests of America. And now that I'm retired, I must say I miss it a lot, because there's just no other job like that where you have such a range of opportunities every day to help people on both in Indonesia, but also help your people of your own country. So I just wanted to put in a word for public service and what a great opportunity it is, and that everybody should try to get that opportunity if they can.
That is amazing. And thank you so much for your service as well in our country in Indonesia here. And also for reminding us of the importance of foreign service work and also the work of diplomats. I think it's something that requires a lot of amazing, skills and time. And it's amazing as someone myself who came from a foreign service family as well. I have the utmost respect for everyone in these FSO and diplomats as well. So thank you again for that answer, Ambassador. And our next question is actually from Edrida Pulungan, and it's definitely a question that's very relevant right now. What do you
Please.
think about the potential woman leader in the world? What is your expectation and insight about emerging women leader in promoting peace and democracy in Indonesia and in the future?
That's just a wonderful question, and I'm so glad you asked that question. Well, I think everybody is so happy that we have our first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, and she has just been such an inspiration, not only to young women in America, but to young women all over the world. And, obviously we're a little bit further behind than countries like Indonesia, who have had women prime ministers and leaders for a long time. But I think that in this day and age, women can play such an important role, and maybe even a greater role than before, because frankly, women, I think, are better listeners, and they're oftentimes more empathetic, and so they have, in many ways, a better chance of really making a difference and figuring out ways to solve problems. And so I think that's why you see now this huge range of women leaders around the world. You have, the great sort of political leaders, Chancellor Merkel and people like that. But then you have all over these international institutions. The new head of the World Trade Organization is a dynamic Nigerian woman. You have, the former head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, who's now the head of the European, basically the central bank. And so you have so many women like that, and so many of them have really made their mark. So this is, I think, an era where women are really coming to the fore and are really going to show in many ways that they have as much or more skills than men in solving the world's problems.
That's amazing. And again, congratulations for America for having the historic first ever vice president who is a woman, and setting the foot for more young girls everywhere to achieve their highest potential in life. And as a woman myself, that is such a great thing to hear, and I can only hope for even more amazing women in the future. And we have one more question, and
Please.
the last question is from Lutfi Aditya. The question is, Ambassador Blake, what are your personal hopes for the future of U.S.-Indonesian relations? And this could be like an inspiring quote from Ambassador Blake to, finish us off. And what can our two countries work on together to help the world? So, yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm convinced that the future of the world is going to belong to democracies like the United States and Indonesia. So I am very, very optimistic about making a prediction that we're going to continue to strengthen and broaden relations between the United States and Indonesia because of those common values that we have. And I think that Indonesia is now sort of what I would characterize as sort of a breakout point. You're already a G20 country, but I think that as you continue to develop, and I'm confident you will come out of this COVID crisis a better country, that Indonesia will begin to spread its wings, and that Indonesia will be more and more of a leader in the world. And you see that more and more now. Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi has been named kind of one of the leaders in terms of COVID coordination. You see the foreign minister, your finance minister, is going to be one of the leaders on climate change issues. You've just been on the UN Security Council for the last 2 years. So you see now Indonesia taking a growing role in the world. It will have more resources to deploy. You're thinking about establishing your own aid program. So, and most importantly for us, you have the right values. So we can be confident that as you begin to spread your influence, you're going to do that in a way that is going to be good for global peace and prosperity. And that's, of course, a country that we want to do everything to work with and to help in every way that we can. So, and let me just make one final comment to all of the young people who are here, which is to say that if I have any one message for all of you, it's that you can make a difference. You know, too often young people think they don't know enough to be a change maker. And that's just not so. All of you have it in you to be leaders. And if you're passionate about an issue and you take the time to learn about it and use the tools at your disposal, maybe it's social media, maybe it's people in your neighborhood, but use those means to organize a community of other people who share your passion. And, you know, it's okay to start small, but always continue to learn, gain experience, gain skills, learn from other change makers, from books, and build your skills in your network. And of course, don't be discouraged if you fail or make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And a mistake just means you've learned what path not to choose in the future. So you coming from this great country and perhaps having the opportunity to take advantage of this great Atlas Corps Fellowship, go forth and make a difference, because you come from a great country and each of you have it in you to be leaders and change makers. And don't be shy about trying to do that.
Thank you so much for giving us this inspiring note for the day. And I hope that everyone here take note of that, listen to that you can be a change maker. And all of us have it in us to become leaders and to use the tools in our disposal and not let our age define, what we can do. So thank you so much, Ambassador Bob Blake, for reminding all of us that, for sharing your experience, and for, giving us hope that, yes, the democracy is indeed, the future of democracy belongs to Indonesia and the United States, and also to the young people in both countries. So I think, speaking of which, we would like to hear, from the young people in Indonesia who are in the United States, to maybe get to learn from them a little bit of too on how, they have been working as leaders in their community and also in the United States, So I think it's time for me to also introduce our next set of panels. I would like to introduce Meredith Newmark, who is our Senior Program Director from Atlas Corps, who will also be joined by 3 of our current Atlas Corps scholars and fellow. We have Lisa Wijayani, who is our current Atlas Corps scholar, Lukman Baiki, who is also our Atlas Corps scholar, doing a virtual scholar, and also Irma Nugrahanti, our current Atlas Corps fellow. So, hi all, how are you guys?
Hi, I'm good.
Hello.
Great
Hi.
to hear from all of you.
Doing good.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Isabella. Thanks for that introduction, and thanks to Ad America and Ambassador Blake for having me here today. So I'm going to be telling you very briefly about what Atlas Corps is and what this program is, and then we're going to hear a little bit from our scholars and fellow about their experience with Atlas Corps. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar with what we do at Atlas Corps engages talented global professionals committed to social change in leadership development programs. Our classic program that we've been operating for 15 years is a 12 to 18 month professional fellowship serving with a U.S. host organization, either in person like Irma's doing or online like Bella's doing right now. And last year, we launched a new program called Virtual Leadership Institute to continue and deepen our engagement with global changemakers, even while travel is difficult, because Atlas Corp believes in the power of helping rising leaders throughout the world connect across borders, whether online or in person. And so now we are recruiting Indonesian public sector leaders for a special initiative within our virtual leadership programs. So what is the Indonesian Public Sector Initiative? Well, it is a global online global community to empower Indonesian public sector leaders known as Atlas Core Scholars. And the three key elements are 5 learning modules, which include orientation, developing self, developing others, and building movements and reflection. There is also professional development electives online and a public policy project. And key elements of each module include a keynote speaker, interactive workshop, self-led activities, peer coaching groups, and community building activities. The goal of the Leadership Institute is to prepare scholars for public sector leadership in their communities. And scholars in this program will gain benefits like enhanced skills that increase your social impact at home, increased connections with Indonesian and international peers, because Atlas Core Scholars join our network of more than 1,000 social change professionals from 103 countries and counting. And so in addition to meeting other Indonesians, you'll expand your global network as well. You'll also gain advancement in policy project implementation of your choice. So throughout the Institute, you will be researching a public policy that is near and dear to your heart, and gaining support through our peer coaching groups that are set up to support you in that project. You will also gain the chance to earn a year-long professional fellowship with a U.S. host organization. So our top scholars will advance to the next stage of the selection process for a professional fellowship, which includes a matching process with a U.S. host organization. So here to tell us more about our programs, like Bella already told us, we have Lukman and Lisa, 2 scholars who started our Virtual Leadership Institute in November, and Irma, our very first fellow from Indonesia, who has been serving in the US for almost 18 months. So I'd love to hear more about their experiences. And I'd like each of you to tell us what has been the most valuable part of your experience with Atlas Core so far. And as you give your remarks, can you introduce yourself with your full name, city where you're from, and current title? And so Lukman, let's start with you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Meredith, for the time. So my name is Lukman. I'm an Atlas Core scholar from Surabaya, Indonesia. My lab affiliation is Orchid Lab. So in Atlas Core, I learned social impact, and also I built relationship with American and international scholars. Besides learning in a big group, I also learned in a small group led by a group captain who has tremendous effects and tremendous experience in leadership project. So I really get benefit learning in small group because it can give me feedback on my leadership project more detailed. So I think the Virtual Leadership Institute is always value individuals and encourage sharing idea and develop me in a cooperative settings to accomplish the common goals.
Thanks so much, Lukman. Next up, let's hear from Lisa.
Okay, thanks, Meredith. Hi, everyone. So my name is Lisa Jayani. I'm from Jakarta. I'm currently leading a program on green economy at the National Think Tank. So what I've experienced from Atlas Core is to be able to connect with other scholars, global scholars in the world. I think echoing to Pak Dino Jalal on the need of the fearless Indonesian leaders, I also believe that Indonesia needs a leader who would be able to collaborate with other people in the world, because we are facing problems and we are going to face more problems in global problems that we have to work together. And being an Atlas Core, I'm able to work with other scholars in Africa, in Venezuela, in Russia, in Latvia, and it's a very memorable experience because I'll be able to work together on the most pressing issues in the world.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lisa. And then finally, let's hear from Irma, our Atlas Corps Fellow.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning to those who are in the US and good evening to those who are in Jakarta or Indonesia. Before I share my experience, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. It's such a pleasure to finally virtually meet with Ambassador Blake again and Pak Dino Patijala. I have had opportunities to meet them in several occasions before. My name is Irma Nugrahanti. I'm from class 37. I'm the first fellow from Indonesia, but not the last. And I'm a proud small town girl. I was born in cute little town in East Java. It's called Jember, but I grew up in South Sulawesi. I'm currently in Washington, D.C. I'm serving at CARE USA as the Budget Liaison and Project Resource Mobilization Manager. What I appreciate the most from this fellowship, some of them are the opportunity to network with fellows, to learn from them, and to witness the people power movement in DC regarding human rights movement, such as Black Lives Matters and other racial justice movement. And I also had the opportunity last year to observe the democracy system and events around politics in Washington, D.C. I've had the chance to witness the presidential debates, election inauguration, and even the Capitol attack. And also, through all of those, I learned from the government on how they deal with economic crisis during pandemic and health crisis, and how my organization, my host organization, CARE USA, is facing the pandemic and improve their resilience and agility to survive. And obviously to observe the best practices in grant management, financial management, and most importantly, I think Atlas Corps helps me to boost my confidence in professional settings and help me to broaden my perspective in order to be inclusive leader for my country in the future. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lisa, Lukman, and Irma for sharing those reflections. And I'm so thrilled to hear how Atlas Corps programs have helped you broaden your both broaden your skill set and broaden your global perspective. I'm going to briefly talk about the applications, but I'm going to keep it brief. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please do post them online or in the chat box, and we will get to them near the end. But all the details about how to apply to this program are at indonesia.atlascorps.org. And I encourage you to apply by March 5th to be considered for our program, which runs from June through September. And you can read more about the eligibility requirements and process online. Stay tuned. We will have another presentation on February 25th at the same time as this one, which is, I believe, 7:30 p.m. in Jakarta, with a deeper dive into the application and answering additional questions. And the link will be available at indonesia.atlascorps.org. That is your hub for all the information about how to apply and get involved in this program. So I'm going to, next I'm going to turn it over to Abby to sort of round us out before we get into questions.
Great, thank you all. So my name is Abby Robinson. I'm the acting CEO at Atlas Corps, and more importantly, I am an Atlas Corps alum. I served in Class 2 in Columbia, and we are so honored to be here today and excited for this partnership. And I just want to thank everyone who has made this possible, everyone who has joined the conversation today, sharing their words of inspiration and wisdom, and also the key partners. I think what's really interesting is the themes that I keep hearing is about community and collaboration, and that is at the heart of Atlas Corps, and that is at the heart of this partnership. And I think about it is not about what we can do alone, but about what we can do together. And this is an innovation within the Atlas Corps model, in that we are focused on this virtual engagement opportunity for public sector leaders in Indonesia. Amazing. And it is happening in a milestone year, both for Atlas Corps and for America. As you heard in the beginning, America is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and this initiative is here to mark that. And in addition, Atlas Corps is celebrating our 15th anniversary in 2021, and we are honored to mark that milestone with this collaboration. And I think how amazing is 2021 when we are kicking off with this type of initiative. And as we've heard, now is not the time to sit back and do nothing. Now is the time to be bold. So I encourage all of you, young emerging leaders, now is the time to apply to get engaged, to enhance your leadership skills. You are already having impact in your homes, in your communities. We are seeing that happen, and we've seen it happen over the past months. And it is what we need, and it is what we need on a global level. So I encourage you to get involved and to connect with this global community. As we were mentioning, Atlas Corps is a community of 1,000 leaders from 103 countries, and that's today, and it is growing. And we want you to be part of that. Because at Atlas Corps, we believe that talent exists throughout the world, but opportunity does not. So what we do is we connect talented leaders such as yourself to the opportunity to learn and, more importantly, to share. We know you have skills, perspective, inspiration to share, and we want to bring that to the global community. And I just think about some of the great examples, and one of them last year, we give an alumni award out every year. And in 2020, our alumni award honoree was Medhar Sharma, who is an Atlas Corps fellow from Nepal. She served at the Nike Foundation, and she has since gone back to Nepal. She founded an organization very much focused on women and youth leadership, community health. And throughout the last few months, they have led an initiative to enhance the health education, especially around COVID awareness. And I think about it is that Medha did not wait for someone to come with solutions. Instead, she motivated and she brought together her community, and she said, we need to take action. And she often said, she looked to her community at Atlas Corps, and she looked to the people that she'd met through the fellowship. And she was able to achieve those goals and objectives, and just to help her local community, but also bringing her effective practices to our global community. And so that's what we're here today to do. And this initiative is an opportunity to do that. So we encourage you to get involved and to take this opportunity to see how you can continue to impact locally and engage globally. And so I want to thank At America. I want to thank the U.S. Embassy in Indonesia. I want to thank all our partners. And I especially want to thank all of you who are joining us today, because you are taking that first step. You are taking that first step to see how you can better become engaged and to continue being leaders, because you are leaders now. And we at Atlas Corps, we are here just to take your talent and to connect it to more opportunity. So as Meredith mentioned, indonesia.atlascorps.org is where the information is. And also next 1 week from now, February 25th, we're going to hold another conversation where we'll deep dive more on information and specifically addressing some of your questions around the application. And so I just want to thank you for that opportunity. So before I turn it back over to At America, I'm actually going to challenge Meredith. There are a few interesting questions that came in, and I want to make sure we address some of those. And I do encourage you, keep those questions coming. At indonesia.atlascorps.org, we have a frequently asked questions section. So we answer some of those questions there. You can always reach us via social media. apply@atlascorps.org is our email address. We'll put that in the chat. So this is an interactive component. We encourage you to reach out to us. And so Meredith, I'm going to ask you a few questions. We heard one few from our community is looking at someone currently unavailable asked, how much does English language proficiency play a part in the selection? Can you speak to us a little bit about this virtual component, the role of English, as well as the in-person fellowship in the United States?
Thank you, Abby. So I'd say English is an important part of our selection process for both of our programs. For the virtual program, it is important because the entire program will be conducted in English. And while you may be in a peer coaching group with other Indonesians, and there may be times when you want to speak in your native tongue, the program itself is going to be very much conducted all in English, and it is the common language of our global network. So English is a requirement for all of our fellows and scholars around the world, and so that's the best way you'll be able to engage with all of our network. And so while it's not part of the application to upload a TOEFL score or IELTS score, so so don't necessarily worry about that. But it is important, and you should, as you're writing your application, you should maybe have a friend read it over to make sure your English is really strong. And there is a video section of the application, just a 2-minute video, and do make sure that maybe you've written out kind of a script for yourself before recording it to make sure that you're presenting your best possible English in your application. And for the fellowship, I'd say English is an even stronger part of the selection process because you're fully immersed in a U.S. host organization 40 hours a week. And so that is crucial to your success in the fellowship program.
Great question. And Meredith, I have another question for you. And this is coming from at Anton Juned, and asking, if chosen for this opportunity, specifically the fellowship, will the individual be able to select or propose the organization where they'd like to serve?
Great question, and one we get a lot. So if you do apply to, or if you end up being considered for our fellowship program, the matching process is a kind of a mutual process with host organizations. So it's not necessarily that you're proposing a host organization, it's that as you fill out your application, you should be highlighting your top skills and the areas that you're most interested in order to help us match you with a host organization. And so we vet our candidates to make sure that they have strong enough skills both to participate in the fellowship itself and that they have skills that could fit with a host organization. And so the Atlas Corps vetting process is more of a general sense. And then we take our top candidates, and those are the ones that we consider for placements with our host organizations. And we look at the position description that a host organization has offered us. For example, CARE, Irma's host organization, gave us a position description, what they're looking for. Then we looked in our pool of candidates, and we sent them 3 to 5 candidates for them to take a look at and interview. And out of those candidates, they chose Irma as the best fit for their position. So it's very customized. And I encourage you to keep an open mind about what kinds of host organizations you'd want to be considered by. They're not all the huge international organizations that you may have heard of, like CARE. Some great host organizations are ones that you would never have heard of because they're local in the US. So keep an open mind about what host organizations you could possibly be considered for. And it's not necessarily a request process. It's more of an Atlas Corps matching process.
Great. And I think we have about 2 more questions, and then we'll transition, though we could invite the questions to keep coming because we'll find other ways to answer them. So this is a combined question from Vanni Giovanni and Anula Rosati. And the question was, does Atlas Corps accept second-year political science students, as well as is working at an NGO considered part of the public sector?
Great question. So when it comes to the student aspect, we are looking for people who have at least a bachelor's degree, and at least a 4-year bachelor's degree. And many of our participants actually even have master's degree, although that's not a requirement of the program. So depending on which student, which level of education you're talking about, if you're second year in your undergrad degree, you are not quite eligible yet. So, please keep following us and wait until you've, follow us on social media and check back on our website for when you have your bachelor's degree, and then you should apply. If you're a second year, like master's student or PhD student, then you would be eligible based on the education requirement. When it comes to who is a fit for the program in terms of public sector, absolutely. If you are part of an NGO, that plays a role in public policy, whether through advocacy or through your research, or anything that ties to policy issues, I encourage you to apply and put your application in, and we'll assess your fit for the program. But absolutely, NGOs are someone who works at an NGO would be a great fit for this program.
Great. And our last question is from Famet Rijadi. And someone who's very excited to hear about this opportunity, especially during the uncertain times of COVID-19, and was wondering if there's any maximum number of selected applicants to join the program, or will all eligible participants who successfully pass the selection process get a chance to join?
Great. So our goal for this initiative is to have 40 virtual scholars from Indonesia in this cohort. So that's our goal, and so it will be a competitive process. Not everyone who applies will get in, unfortunately, but hopefully this will be just the start of many great things to come, and hopefully there will be many more opportunities for Indonesians down the road. And we also open our programs. We welcome you to apply for our program, our Atlas Corps Fellowship, which is a separate application. Even if you don't get selected for our for this special initiative, you could be considered for our Virtual Leadership Institute and Fellowship outside of this special U.S. government-funded special initiative specifically for Indonesian public sector leaders.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. And we do want to invite you next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Jakarta time. Meredith and I will be again online to answer more questions, to deep dive. So please join us, indonesia.atlascorps.org. And also, I just especially want to thank Irma, Lisa, Lukman, and Bella for being Atlas Corps leaders, as well as being part of this conversation today. And one question we had at the beginning from these leaders was, Abby, Atlas Corps has been around 15 years. Why do we only have 4 Indonesians? And I said, we are changing that today. A lot of times it is about awareness. We recruit globally. So today, this is the opportunity. This is the challenge. Be bold. We want to multiply the number of participants, the number of applicants we've received from Indonesia. As Meredith mentioned, our goal is 40 for this special initiative. Though Atlas Corps has more virtual leadership institutes, we have more people that are involved in our fellowship, both this year and into the future. So we look forward to receiving your application. We look forward to engaging you in our community. Excellent. So we'll turn it back to America.
Thank you so much to our speakers and our moderator for today's very interesting session. Now, you may be wondering, how could I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? It's actually very easy. All you need to do is go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id. Select Create a Program and click Collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly updates. And that wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at @ATAmerica for all our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is James, and I'll see you at the next At America TV episode. Goodbye.